copper wire around this plastic copper.
Good evening, everybody. Can everyone hear me? Just want to do a quick audio check before we get into the EGI2 6 to 7 out of 10 game 6 to 7 out of 10 game reviews. Everybody, so we can all let's just do some more checking here. Check. Keep telling me if I'm sounding like we need to go up at all. Check. D33. Deech? Is that Deech? Sounds. Thank you for subscribing with your Prime membership for the third month. We've got a lot of people that are have been with us since we started this experiment and have been so supportive. We're also on a 3-month streak, and oh god. Okay, so. If you're just joining us, then this is a brand new situation that we've been doing with EGI2, which is that anytime that there is a hype train going, I will tell a story for the length of the hype train. I also suggested at one point that I would sing, but I think that the singing is more difficult for me. So we're gonna just go ahead and start with a hype train story. About the place, the rock people. Okay, so the people that live in the rocks. So this reminds me, of course, of all the time that we have here in the world to express stories and think about how tonight's show is going to be is a reflection of previous things in history. If it was so the goal here is that the place of the rocks, the people that live in the people that live in the rocks, the little rocks that have little windows in them. That's where we're going to start tonight, because I think that it's going to reflect that story, the ageless story of the people that live in the little rocks and the little windows. That is the absolute thank you for gifting 5-tier subs, Uncle Owen. Let's just go back to the beginning. So tonight we're going to be reviewing 3 games, and I think that all fall within the category of 6 to 7 out of 10. So and that reminds me of a story about 3 children that lived in a sort of one of those like rocky, barren landscapes that you see in those sort of old paintings of wastelands, and the bodies and the bodies have fallen on the ground. They're all kind of like they're turning and they're looking at something, and you never know what they're looking at. But one theory that I've come across in my research is that what they're looking at is little rocks that have little creatures in them that all like make tiny little windows, little circular windows that the little people look out at. And they look out at the big people who unfortunately, in many cases, don't make it. So this is the story about 3, but this is a good story. It's a happy story about 3 kids that did make it, and so one of the first names of the there's 3 kids. There was a boy named Dishy. There was a girl named Dashi, and another boy named and then there was Casti. So Dishy, Dashi, and Casti were all children that lived in a small village at the end in this kind of pretty barren, but people made it happen. It was mostly they lived in a trading community, so that their houses weren't exactly part of any kind of. They weren't farmers, they weren't hunters, they were traders. So they would act as the whole community would act as they would act as guards for the different caravans of commerce that would come through the wasteland. And this was, of course, let's just call it the wasteland. So Dishy, Dashy, and Casty all lived in this village, and they all believed that one day we will be part of this mercenary team, because I guess if just by nature of the job of what they were doing, they were mercenaries. And so the kids wanted to be mercenaries. All the adults that they had ever grown up with are mercenaries, and not just we're at 80% of the level 3 hype train. Okay, so that not just the women in the women and the moms and the dads and the old people and everybody was a mercenary, except for like one or two priests and maybe just like a handful of prostitutes who kind of just served everybody else. But Dishy, Dashy, and Casty didn't want to be involved in that business. They wanted to be doing they wanted to be doing what their parents had been doing and what those parents had been doing for a long time. And you kind of just like go out on these crazy adventures, and you go all the way to the eastern side of the continent, and you go all the way to the western side of the continent. But mostly they stayed in the center part of this continent, and we're of course talking about the Eurasian steppe, if you will. So if you imagine this, this just sandblasted and wind-swept plain out there on the Eurasian.
This is so interesting.
So, Allan, and this is just in. Allan Resnick is actually here in EGI 2, 6 or 7 out of 10 game reviews. Game reviews 2. Allan, are you saying this? Where you can't hear me right now?
Robbie,
You might be okay. So Allan's here, everybody. So let's keep the story and go. Allan in the middle of a hype train story.
I can hear you.
Well, I can't do anything about it.
I like the story. Keep going.
Okay, so
Sorry.
the story is that you're still echoey. You're echoey again all of a sudden. Doesn't make any sense.
Okay, I gotta go. Bye.
Bye. Okay, so thank you for doing that, Allan, and saying hi to everybody, and everybody was very excited to see Allan. But of course, the Dishy, Dashy, and Casty story must continue. So Dishy, Dashy, and Casty one day were out gathering roots and rocks, and so they were roots were for stews and tinctures and medicine, and the rocks were just for kicks. Everybody loves everybody goes good rock pile when they're children. You stack the rocks, you throw the rocks, you kind of maybe make little maps out of the rocks. First time chat, Allan. I can't read that. So Dishy, Dashy, and Cassie are out gathering rocks and roots. One pocket is for rocks, one pocket is for roots on each person. So 3 different people, Dishy, Dashy, and Casty, 3 different sets of pockets. So 3 pockets for rocks and 3 pockets for roots. So they're gathering Dishy, Dashy, and Casty, Allan. So Allan Resnick is back in the is back on EGI Game Reviews 2. Allan,
I don't want to interrupt. Keep telling the story.
Well, you have to.
2 minutes.
Okay, what's going? Can you? You're not. The echo is gone, so that's good. So we're going to be looking for just any sort of input that you. Is there any questions that you have about the story so far, Allan?
No, I just want to hear the rest of it because it's so captivating.
Okay, so
I love Dishy, Dashy, and Casty.
Dishy, Dashy, and Casty are little children that are part of a mercenary community out there in the Eurasian steppe. And this is sort of the prehistory time, so we don't really know what really happened back then, except for occasionally you get these little adages and mythologies that kind of creep their way into. They kind of people pound them into. Used to pound them into like rocks, and they would show off at. You'd be, somebody, like some Russian mining company will come across a cave and they'll be digging for coal or uranium, and they'll just come across, hey, here's a rock and it's got a story on it, and this story is like that, and it's like so the Dishy, Dashy, and Casty story. So Dishy, Dashy, and Cassie are out gathering rocks and roots one long day. It's cold, it's hot. It's one of those days that alternates very rapidly between cold and hot, which of course happens when you're when the exposure is so intense in these environments, Allan.
Yes, I understand.
So somehow these 3 youngsters just managed to get completely lost out where they are. So they start wandering around, and they're like, they're kind of going in circles. They're like, that's a big rock that we passed earlier, isn't it? And Dishy says, that's the big rock that we passed earlier. And then Dashy says, I don't think that's the same rock. And then Casty says, pretty sure that Dishy is right. So Dishy, Dashy, and Casty are having a bit of an argument. And as the deeper they go into the wasteland, the more lost that they are. And these are, when I say a big rock, I mean like, if you took like an old Ford Fairmount and you turned it on its side, Allan.
People are gifting subs.
So
Subs. I know what you're talking about.
people are giving sounds like crazy, but Dishy Dashy and Cassie's story must go on. So if you picture, this is a place where, except for the long expanses where there's nothing, occasionally there's these big clumps of rocks that are like the size of Ford Fairmonts that are turned on their sides.
Right.
So the kids get lost and they get turned around, and before you know it, the sun's going down, and they just know that they have to stay outside for the evening. So they do. So they stay outside for the So they're staying outside for the evening, and they build. They build a little fire because everybody in this little community always has flint, and they also had lots of little. They bought lots of little twigs. But the thing, this is the thing that I forgot to say earlier, which is that at one point they got twigs from a really weird tree. And they were confused because like this is.
Robbie, it's over.
Oh, well, the tree was dead, and it was
Don't
also
like
Robbie,
it
was
over.
also a bunch
Robbie,
of, it was
it's over.
I just want to
Robbie,
say
don't tell
one
them the
thing.
end
It
of
was
the
a bunch
story.
of it was just a bunch of weird colors, but it was also dead, and that's where they got their roots from. So
Okay, but
thanks.
don't tell anyone.
Welcome to EGI2 6 or 7 out of game reviews 2. Live here on twitch.tv/EGI_2. We have just a wonderful evening here tonight that we're going to be. We had such a success with EGI2 game 6 to 7 out of game reviews 1, where we reviewed the classic PlayStation 2 action horror game Extermination and gave it a score befitting of that particular title. But tonight we have. With such a success, but we felt like it was so important that we expand on what we were doing right, that we actually are going to be reviewing three 6 to 7 out of 10 games tonight.
That's so great. I have to go. I loved the
Thanks
story,
for stopping
but
by,
I don't
Allan.
wanna know
Always
about the
great to
games.
see you.
I want to know about the games.
And we're turning the light red, so we're back. We're back. So tonight we're going to be reviewing 3 classic games, and when I say classic games, I mean they're older games, but never received the high enough scores to be considered for a classic status in the way you think of something like Twilight Princess or Jack 3. We're talking about 3 games that are as follows: Battle Engine Aquila, which we've talked about on the show a lot. The Suffering, the Xbox and PlayStation 2, and perhaps there was a GameCube port, and I know there's at least a PC port. A horror action game that takes place in a prison that's gone completely insane. If you've seen games like Dead Space or Callisto Protocol, then you know that a lot of the ideas that got to those games came from games like The Suffering and its sequel, Ties That Bind. The world's topsy-turvy. The prison is filled with evil and murder and monsters, and someone's got to get out of it. The Battle Engine Aquila, we don't know I don't know if anybody has a particular line into if I'm pronouncing that correctly or incorrectly when I say Aquila or Aquila. BWM Lax 14 says FAKK2. That's of course a reference to heavy metal FAKK2. We've gone over that on the numbered stream, but we're not reviewing that tonight. No, we're reviewing the Battle Engine Aquila, the Suffering, the first Suffering game, not the second Suffering game, and Cursed Mountain on the Nintendo Wii. So these are 3 games that I think that we here at EGI2 have decided are absolutely locked into that 6 to 7 out of 10 review score quality rubric, and we are going to be reviewing those games live here tonight. So if everybody is excited, what do people do when they're excited? Clap. If there's clapping emotes. And this there's no copper wire. I opened up Twitch for a second because I needed to have a look at the stream to see how the stream was going, and there was an ad on it for copper wire with plastic, and who knows why that's being pointed at me. I have done nothing to deserve the amount of copper wire with plastic in terms of targeted advertising. That's fine, EGI2 watcher. Sponsorship, we are, of course, sponsored by tonight by Frame Ride, the classic Dreamcast action game. It's not an adventure game. It's just a straight action game with lots of mechs battling it out, and you're talking a little bit about the Dishy Dashy and Casty sort of wastelands. Well, you kind of picture, if you look at Frame Ride, you get a pretty good idea of the kind of wastelands that we're talking about. We're also sponsored tonight by Mini Gaming Desktops that cost around $800. If you're looking for a gaming desktop that is going to be small, it's not going to make a big impact on your desk, and maybe people aren't going to, people always, these big heavy desktops are going out of style, and the mini gaming desktops are coming into style. So you can take them over to your friend's house, you can pack them away for going on a trip with a portable gaming monitor, and you can also lots of different things you can do with mini gaming desktops. We're also sponsored by our newest sponsor with this, and also let's just want to remind people that these companies are not giving us any money. We're not actually in any kind of sponsorship deal with them, but we are hoping, as the EGI2 family grows, as the show as our shows develop further, that more people will want to sponsor the show. So this is just a kind of a proof of concept that we're doing on spec. If you know the classic spec term, that's the spec, which I've never understood why, but it just means that we're doing it just on spec. And Bitmap Books is one of our possible sponsors. It's a great company that makes wonderful looking books for the cost of a high price, and for and I have with me one of my own copies of a Bitmap book. And with Bitmap Books, I'll remind people that we don't actually want any money from Bitmap Books. All that we want is just for them to send me copies of the books that I already own, so I can unwrap one copy of it and keep the other one wrapped for mint condition, because these are very nice collectible books. You can see this one even comes with a dust cover, and this has got this is the Super Nintendo Super Famicom Visual Compendium. It got all the letters represented here. You got A from the Alien 3, B from Bomberman, C from Chrono Trigger, D for Donkey Kong, E for Earthbound, F for F-Zero, G for Ghost, H for Hagani, I for Indiana Jones, J for... what the hell is that? J for... well, it looks like a sort of a mounted gun on a truck kind of situation, so J. Judge Dredd? Does that make sense? Anyway, there was a Judge Dredd video game on the Super Nintendo. K for, obviously, Kamen Rider. L for Luigi. M, Mortal Kombat. N for Ninja. O for the... I don't know, I guess that's the O for the sort of circle around the Super Nintendo controller. It seems weird that was what they went with. P for Pilot Wings. Q for the Queen from Battletoads. R for Rock and Roll Racers. S, and so forth and so on. So I haven't been able to open that book, but I would like to have, because I'd like to keep that sealed, and I'd like to have an open copy straight from Bitmap Books, and we would maybe go through the whole book, turn the pages on the stream, and that would be how we get our sponsorship from Bitmap Books. So, with no further ado, I think we've tarried enough with of course the Hype Train story and with the sponsorship. We have to dive right into our game reviews for the evening, starting with game review. EGI 2 6 or 7 out of 7 out of 10 game reviews. 2 game review 1 Battle Engine Aquila. So that's a Battle Engine Aquila or Aquila on the Xbox and PlayStation 2 and, of course, PC. And I do believe that you can, if you're interested in playing Battle Engine Aquila, you could find it on a number of platforms like Steam or good old games. But for those of you who are unfamiliar with this Battle Engine Aquila is a fast-paced and epic scale action game set in a futuristic struggle between the Forseti and the Muspel. You play as Hawk, a forklift driver who has been thrown into the war as a result of being... he's a forklift driver on a planet with melting ice caps, and everyone is going nuts because of the lack of water. And if you're forklift, give me one. There it is. So the game sets up each mission with a cutscene and a brief paragraph or two of text that details your upcoming tasks. So if you look here, you're seeing what I'm seeing. If you're seeing what I'm seeing, you're seeing that we're kind of going into the game here. We're putting the letters in. This is that's so PSHA, and this could be an acronym. We know this is sourced from elsewhere. This is not my game footage, and they're saving obviously. So we know this is on PlayStation 2. So that's exciting to see. This Battle Engine. This is actual Battle Engine Aquila footage running on PlayStation 2 hardware, original hardware. And we're seeing the midget briefing here. We're piloting. We're going in. We're selecting our Battle Engine unit. It's sort of like if you remember, of course, the classic game Frame Gride. This is sort of like Frame Gride, but in Battle Engine Aquila. So we're gonna have to restart the thing because I hit the wrong button. But the fact of the matter is that Battle Engine Aquila is 100% a game that came out perhaps either too soon or either too soon or too late, depending on where you... there's a little slider here. I can actually... So OBS actually allows me to slide around a little bit, so we could go in a little bit, skip back over. This is great. I didn't realize that's that slider. I always thought that was a... there's a slider here. You can't see, but there's a slider here in OBS that I always thought was a volume slider, but it turns out it's a progress bar for the video. So this has never been before. This is footage never seen on the EGI2, and it's crazy. The Muspel forces here are gathering. They're going completely nuts. Everybody wants water. The environmental catastrophe that has hit this planet, and there, of course, is the forklift that is driven by our protagonist Hawk, and a woman who is clearly infatuated with the forklift. And Allan Resnick is back here on EGI2 stream. There's another EGI2 6 or 7 out of 10 game reviews too. Allan, what are your thoughts on Battle Engine Aquila? The game footage is wild stuff, Allan.
Hey, I got a cat. I wanted to know what game you were reviewing, and I wanted to know what your review score was.
So the review score hasn't been announced yet. The cat's here. That's of course Allan's cat. This is not like the cat that got into the studio the other night. This is actual real house cat. It's a fine cat. It's tame. It's not mean. It doesn't chew on the cords or run around and bite the green screen in the studio.
The other cat was a house cat too. It had a collar.
So, Allan, you're seeing Battle Engine Aquila perhaps for the first time here.
Nobody means you any harm.
Yes, I've never seen this before. And what was your score?
We haven't given a score yet. We're still in the introductory phase of the review. So we're showing people how the story progresses. This is Hawk on the left here. He's a forklift driver, and then these are people that are hiring him to leave his position as a forklift driver and go into and fight the Muspel, which are which is an evil. Kind of an insurgency that we are terrified at what they could possibly be planning when it comes to overthrowing the current world order on this planet with battle engines right at the ready.
And if you had to give it a number score,
we haven't got there yet because we have to get through. We have to get through the notes. We have to get through. People are wanting to know more about Battle Engine Aquila in the chat, and we are wanting to hear your thoughts as we move forward.
I'll hold judgment. I'll hold off my judgment until you give it a final score. That said, I would like to you have to say goodbye. Bye-bye.
So bye-bye, Allan. Thanks for stopping in and giving us your thoughts on EGI 2's game review. EGI 2's 627 out of 10 game reviews. 2 game review 1 Battle Engine Aquila on the PlayStation 2, but also there were versions, of course, on the Xbox and PC. So we seeing here that the Battle Engine has now been fully deployed with Hawk at the ready. He's going through the motions of course, of getting a feel for how the unit.
Now make your way to the firing range for target practice. I'll mark the location on your HUD again.
Just walking around, he's looking at the big blue clouds, and if you remember the story of Dishy Dashy and Casty, then this is kind of, if you get an idea that maybe that place where they lived was somewhat kind of like this place, in terms of sort of wide open areas, but also occasionally you get like clumps of large objects. Kind of interesting how the more things change, the more they say the same. The Aquila, anyway. So moving forward with the game review, we have of course information about the battle engine itself, which has 2 modes. You can transfer between them whenever you like. So the game takes place in these kind of arena-like islands, but they're much larger than the islands in, say, Frame Grind. They're also much more dynamic with greater sense of geographically. They're geographically complicated, they're environmentally diverse, there are forests, there's mountains, there's beaches, etc. And there are also islands, so there's basically, if you cut and paste all of those elements onto each one, you kind of get a good feel of where you're going to be traveling and how you're going to be exploring, what you're going to be exploring, while fighting off the evil forces of the Muspel. And there's 2 modes that the battle engine... Okay, so...
I want you to maneuver the battle engine to
there's
the
jet mode
on your HUD. Notice how objectives that you are given are marked as yellow dots on your scanner.
Tank mode.
Now make your way to the firing range.
So if you've ever been in a situation where you've been wondering if you should pick up and go and fly off into the air, or if you should stay put and just blast the hell out of everything in front of you, then you'll be... Let's go to the phones and see what people are saying about Battle Engine Aquila. If you're on the PlayStation 2, if you played Battle Engine Aquila, we want to know if you played it on the Xbox or the PlayStation 2 or the PC. Then we're happy to hear what your thoughts are. And so we want to hear about 25. Call coming in. Caller, you're on. Caller, you're on the air. Hello, caller. You're on the air with EGI 2. 6 to 7 out of 10 reviews. Game reviews 1. No, game reviews 2. Game review 1.
Hey, Robbie. It's Gio. Calling in. Happy to be the first caller.
Happy to have you here. Gio, I just want to make sure that everyone can hear us in the chat. That we can hear Gio's voice coming through loud and clear. Before we go. Okay, we got Gio. So let's hear it. What are your thoughts on what you've seen so far? And the Battle Engine Aquila universe is obviously a complicated one. There's a lot of dynamics happening. You're a forklift driver 1 minute, and then all of a sudden you're driving one of these state-of-the-art battle tanks through the islands of.
I love the game so far. I love the world.
And there's a co-op mode.
A lot of questions.
Yes.
I think it raises a lot of questions. I'm really interested in finding out more about the 25 scenarios.
Yes, so there's 25 scenarios, all encompassing every scenario you can think of, from piloting a tank that turns into an airplane that has to attack, or piloting that same thing but having to defend
Yeah, there's 25 scenarios. There's 2 modes.
Yes. 2
There's
tank. So tank mode
mul-
and jet mode.
There's multiple battle engines, so it's not just the one.
Right. So you're not the only one with battle engines in this business. Everybody's got battle engines. They're running around on these islands. Some of the islands have snow. Some of them are just ground, and some of them some of the islands are smaller than the other islands.
And there's a very small tank. I know that's a weapon of war. I'm not sure if that's a battle engine per se.
Yes.
Again, just questions about the world.
So that's a great question. The world is we're sort of in this place where the powers that be have decided to mass as many as large armies.
Well, only a few things on the screen at a time, but
right.
I guess in the background
yeah,
are
so
large
there's
armies.
so if you can imagine
There's
that,
front,
if you can imagine
front,
what you're
there's
looking at
multiple
here,
front.
there's probably now we're in jet mode, but if you imagine there could be a situation where the battle engine was on the ground and there would be a lot of tanks. And a lot of people, and different people would be firing at you, or maybe they'd be firing at other people, or there would be a whole battle on it, and you're just a part of this larger war between Forseti and...
Yeah, I didn't catch what the war was about.
Apparently the war is about water, but which is odd to me because they're just surrounded by water in all these levels.
Yeah, there's
so
a
what
lot
are
of
your thoughts
water.
on... Yeah, so they're on islands.
Again, I have world building questions. I bet playing the game would answer. That island looks too small to have a war on. I think it might only fit like one more battle engine, maybe.
Right.
Very small island.
Well,
Lots of water.
You see the water.
What was the forklift for?
So the forklift, he was driving a forklift before he was doing this, so he must have been pretty good. You can imagine that Hawk.
So they have. They have warehouses.
Do we have Hawk's? Do we have Hawk's last name here? Well, the world. Let's just talk about world building here, because my thought about the water is because we are on these islands, absolutely surrounded by water. There must be something wrong with that water, and we're obviously at a technological point where we can build these massive war machines, battle engines, as well as having the old stuff: tanks, infantry, jets, boats.
Very impressive architecture there, where
just like space freighter, like sky freighters and space freighters. Freighters,
yeah,
that,
so
the big boxy ones. And so I imagine that part of the issue here is that in the process of making all these damn things, they just must have gone through a lot of trial and error and then just ended up dumping all of them, what didn't work, in the water.
So they made. Really, the problem is they made too many battle engines.
I mean, because we never really, because you notice when you read the backs of the back of the box, you never see that we ever do any underwater missions.
And that's the trouble with like GOG is you don't get the back of the box, so you don't know.
Well, you do. Well, you get, if you go to the GOG website, they give you a kind of a rundown of what to expect, but they don't. But as far as the scenarios go, there's no underwater things. So you got to ask yourself. They got everything up in the air. They got things on the ground. What the hell's going on underwater? And it begs the question: is it too crowded down there? Is it too have we gotten to the point where there's just these beaches are just nasty? Nobody wants. Nobody's fighting over that water, so they're fighting over.
Maybe the battle engines aren't watertight. Maybe they're just for the air, and they can't work underwater.
The battle engines? They're for the ground too. They got tank mode.
Yeah, they got tank mode, but if they went underwater, they'd flood.
Right.
So that you can't fight there.
But why? What I'm saying is that they got to the point where you could build these damn things, and here we are having trouble just getting to the point where we can just.
We've lost contact with high command.
I can't imagine that there's not a couple steps you could have taken to watertight these things and have them be at least amphibious.
I mean, I'd like to see it.
I mean, there there are missions where you accompany in these kind of beachhead landing scenarios. So those get to go in the water.
But not you.
This is Allan Resnick's in the chat. This is Battle Engine Aquila. Geo, if you're taking a look at this game here, what do you think the score is going to be tonight for this one?
Well, I don't think it could be a 9 or an 8 because you only have the 25 scenarios. You don't get to go underwater.
You're looking. You're into. So here we are in jet mode. There's an incoming missile. You can see these lock-on mechanisms, all sorts of crazy. I don't even know if these are still
Sky
considered.
triangle.
There's snow falling, so this is obviously someplace with snow. Maybe the water's frozen. I don't know. I mean, boats get to go in there. There's a boat right there. I'm looking at it. Oh no, that's one of the air freighters.
Freighter.
God Almighty! Look at this stuff. Unbelievable. How do you come up with this?
Well, I think they took a look at Frame Guide and saw what worked.
They saw it worked in Frame Guide, and they said, we got two things we could add to this thing: jet mode and larger arenas, and then also lots of little people running around that you could step on, you can run over, you can have a good time just bombing the hell out of them.
An island. Frame Guide was kind of just flat, and here we have a bunch of islands, and it looks like Halo.
And of course, Frame Guide came out in 2000 in the year 2000, and Battle Engine Aquila came out 2003.
So it's a little step up.
Yes. Thank you for your call. We got another caller coming in, so we're going to go ahead and say goodbye to Geo and say hello to whoever this is. Who are you? What do you want? What's your Battle Engine Aquila, or is it Aquila or Aquila? What do you think?
Hi, Cody from Florida.
Hey, Cody. Friend of the show, Cody from Florida. Have you gotten out of that damn parking lot?
I eventually made it back to my house. My roommate wasn't so lucky. He lost a Cadillac.
Jeez, a Cadillac.
Yeah.
Hard business it is to live in that state.
Reports are sketchy, but they suggest
Indeed. So, what was the question again?
So, Cody, what are your thoughts on Battle Engine Aquila, of what you've seen so far? We've gotten the introduction. We've seen some gameplay. We've seen some story missions. What are you thinking of? What's popping in your head at this moment?
It looks pretty cool. I like a transformable robot, and somebody in the chat said it's a very cute looking robot. It's a cute blue little guy.
Yeah, it's so funny about it is that it's one of those soft, like, kind of, that's, it's not like the Robotech Macross looking things with the points and the angles. This thing is pretty slick, pretty smooth. It's almost like iMac circa turn of the 21st century.
Like the Tachikoma from Ghost in the Shell standalone complex.
Well, I thought about that as well, and that's a much more just a crazy looking thing. And the more you look at it, the crazier it is. I feel like with the Battle Engines and Battle Engine Aquila, it's more you kind of see you're like, all right, I get it. It's
I can imagine him with the cute voice being like, I love you, Robbie. I love being your battle engine. You know?
So they got it's a feeling machine, is what you're trying to say.
It could be. They're piloted by feeling people, so that's the. But I have a comparison to make to Battle Engine. So it almost looks like when you're in flying mode. Did you ever play the Jedi Starfighter game?
It does look like a lot like the Jedi Starfighter. I played Jedi Starfighter. There's 3 Jedi Starfighters, isn't there?
I thought there was just the one PlayStation 2 Jedi.
Nope.
I mean, you might be thinking of Battle for Naboo.
So there's Battle for Naboo, but then there's 2 Starfighter games. One of them was on the N64. 2 of them. And then the next one was on PlayStation 2, GameCube, what have you. Or maybe the Jedi Starfighter one was just on PlayStation 2, not GameCube. But then there was the Battle for Naboo, yeah.
Yeah, and then Gun Blaze. It also reminds me of that. And Gun Blaze.
So it's like you combined Gun Griffin. I'm shocked and also tearing up. From both civilizations are the brink of war with each other. So EGI2 Watcher says that what part of what's driving this whole war is that there's too much water.
Yeah. Oh, is it a water world?
So it's a water world. That's why there's all these islands. So thank you for teeing that up for us, EGI2 Watcher and BWM Lax 14. I don't know why you're so upset, but so now we can really get to the bottom of things. But that still begs the question: why aren't we seeing this? If there's so much damn water, why aren't we in the water more? If you go back to the old classic wars of the past, you think about the WW1, WW2. We used as a human, as a species, we got in there. We had our U-boats and submarines. We had various pipes. We got in the water. We made it work. We made the water work for others.
It's not fun. It's never been fun. Our World War II grandfathers didn't have fun underwater.
But I'm looking at these damn things, and I'm saying to myself, you built these massive machines in the sky, on the ground. You could easily make a very roomy underwater situation. And we
I don't think it's fun.
And then the land is just something everybody goes up to for holidays, or to gather and sing, a song of the old times before the world moved on. And there's no reason, I'm saying, for this bloodfest. I mean, the slaughter that we're seeing in these gameplay footage is just absolutely relentless. I mean, you're just one blast of these mounted machine guns here probably just blow a person into Tic Tacs.
That's a fact. But I'm more offended by the amount of water. I'm not loving the water part of this game, to tell you the truth.
And you've got a special relationship to that business because of where you are.
I'm not. Yeah, like I said, not a fan.
Cody from Florida. Before we let you go, and we do have to give this thing a review score at some point tonight. But I do want to say, because of your relationship to water, and this is just what I'm gleaning from our conversation here.
Yeah.
If there was to be more water than you're liking, would you be willing to climb into one of these damn things and go absolutely batshit bananas? And I don't use the brown word lightly.
In the spirit of vengeance, I mean, if under extreme circumstances, I would hop into.
What I'm saying is that obviously the world has gone completely. If there's that much water, then we're in trouble.
The second impact.
And folks like you that have been dealing with that damn substance for this long have had enough, and you snap. It
would almost I would want to strike back against the water itself,
Yes. Well, that's and that's all. That's all the news there is to print about that particular situation. Thank you for your call,
Robbie.
Cody from Florida. We are back with Allan Resnick. Allan Resnick is back on EGI2, PlayStation 2, EGI2 game review. 6 to 7 out of 10 game reviews. 2 game review 1 Battle Engine Aquila. And we've seen Maddie online right there. We're going with Maddie's suggestion that we say Aquila like tequila.
Okay, great. Robbie?
Back to you, Allan.
I heard a little rumor that we got a sponsor.
We got a sponsor? Yeah, Bitmap. The fake sponsors are Bitmap Books, Mini PCs, and sponsor Framegride.
I heard a little birdie told me that we got that copper wire is sponsored.
Copper wire with plastic.
Copper wire with plastic?
Okay, let's see the slide. Yeah, because that was part of it. They said something out that copper wire had plastic on it.
Oh, I'm not privy to any knowledge on the specifics of the deal that was worked out, but it's just a rumor going on in the chat that copper wire has become an official sponsor of EGI2. So correct me if I'm wrong.
So I'll correct you. I guess copper wire. We don't have the slide for it yet, but there's no reason, I guess, at this point to turn down anybody since we don't have any actual sponsors. Therefore, let's welcome to our. If you could, maybe in the time that you're sitting there, just maybe draw up on a piece of paper or write down copper wire sponsor, and then just put in front of the camera there, and then we'll
I will.
And I'll add, and of course then once that's settled, I'll make the slide and then I'll add it to the shirt. But
and did you review the game?
I haven't got to the game review yet. Bit of a slow start this evening because we did have to get through a lot of story content when it came to explaining the guy that the main character, the guy in the tank, the guy in the battle engine is a forklift driver.
Help our boys defend the firebase. Go out.
Okay, that's so interesting. Okay, I do have to go. Bye.
Okay, bye, Allan. Thank you for stopping
in
and giving us your thoughts on this wonderful, groundbreaking battle engine Aquila game on the PlayStation 2, Xbox, PC, and what have you. So
you're welcome. Back to you, Robbie.
Back to you, Allan. And we'll be thinking about what you said for a long time. And as we also welcome to a potential next, I mean, that's a great sponsor copper wire, if you can get it. So, because then we could have more copper wire, and then we could do a lot of stuff. We could get better. If you're an electrician, and if there's an electrician in the chat, let us know, because we'd love to know how to really maximize what we could do with copper wire. I always assume that you probably just take it down to one of those weird little alleyway places down by the train depot and talk to fellers in the dark to get what a life. So anyway, Battle Engine Aquila, of course, gets an absolutely, I think, fitting score of 7 out of 10 for Battle Engine. So if you're feeling like if that's what it deserves, if you feel like it deserved a little bit lower, or even a little bit higher, we will take those suggestions to heart, although it will not change the final result because we made that call before we put the show on the air. So if you want to call in and give us a bit of your if you're mad about the 7 out of 10, then let us know. If you think it was the right score, let us know. If you think that there is I don't know what that is. If you think that there could be a way that this game could have received somehow more than 7 out of 10, we would really appreciate your thoughts on Battle Engine Aquila, and its rampaging world of absolute violence and madness, just sheer destruction, being let out of a machine that was devised by complete psychopaths with nothing but death on their minds. Moving on, we have a second game review of the evening. Of course, is going to be this is, I think, what people are really excited about, because this is the game that most people know when they hear the word The Suffering. They think they've played the game, or they've known about the game, they read about the game. But I promise you that you've never seen The Suffering. EGI2 has never reviewed The Suffering on EGI2 game reviews, 6 to 7 out of 10 game reviews to game review 2. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at The Suffering and come back and talk about what makes it receive that score between 6 to 7 out of 10 to which we have not applied to it.
This summer, you will go on a mission deep into the Antarctic where a terrible threat awaits. Fear and danger wait at every turn. A mission that you may not survive. Fujiwara and his team of deep space, extermination will take you places you've never been before.
Extermination takes place at an underground research facility at the South Pole. Because of the extremely low temperatures, they are able to conduct experiments on dangerous viruses. Suddenly, a distress signal is sent from the base, and all communications are cut off.
When Dennis Riley and his partners in the Marine Special Forces Red Light Team arrive at the top-secret Antarctic base, they find that infected mutants have taken the base over, and that they are hell-bent on infecting the members of Red Light with their deadly virus.
Well, there are creatures in the facility that are violently mutated. They spit a green substance, and the infection that they're carrying is spread through that substance.
Welcome to Carnage.
Inmates,
enjoy your stay. I've been sentenced to death for murdering my family.
But if you get 100% infected,
Is this true? Oh, he won't say. Claims he blacked the whole thing out. A likely story. When the judge sentenced me to die, he told me he only wished my suffering could be equal to that of my victims.
I read about your trial. They got no witnesses, all circumstantial evidence. No one knows what really happened but you.
I expected to sit waiting for my time to die. Then...
There's something! It's in here! A lethal virus.
Inmate, back in your cell. Everything's under control.
All hell broke loose. I cannot escape what I bring about.
This fear and your twist are what determine the outcome.
Your being here ain't no coincidence.
In a place where nothing is what it seems, you will change your path and uncover the truth behind the suffering.
Feel to it. You get the full flavor and power.
So that is The Suffering, the classic first-person and third-person action horror game taking place in a prison that has completely lost its ability to control the people and the beings, human or otherwise, in its walls. And from what am I seeing correctly that the sound from the video wasn't playing? Is it just the sound that's playing throughout the rest of the show? It was just too loud. Oh, okay. So we'll turn down sorry about that. We will turn down the sound in the. Okay. So this is me. Again, not so loud. Oh my God, too much sound. So sorry about all the sound. We'll figure out. When we come back for Game Reviews 3, the sound will hopefully we'll try to figure out how to rebalance that. But The Suffering, of course, is the game that we are reviewing tonight here on EGI 2, 6 to 7 out of 10 Game Reviews 2, Game Review 2. And this is The Suffering. The Suffering, you play as Torque, a death row inmate in Abbott State Penitentiary, another island. So this is the second island on EGI 2's Game Reviews, 6 to 7 out of 10 Game Reviews. It's been loud since the channel started. So is the show too loud? I thought people were saying that. So Torx is if the show's too loud, let me know. The show's not too loud. So everyone's. I'm getting a lot of. It's tough because we do want to review the game. The Suffering with Torque, the death row inmate at Abbott State Penitentiary. I have all the information right here about what's going on with him. After the murder of his wife and 2 sons, he is told that he will die at the prison. So he goes to the prison, and they give him a cell, and then everybody goes crazy in the middle of the night, and the monsters start to come out. And the monsters are, of course, reflections of the ways that they died. So if you see in the top, if you see over there, there's an example of a monster from the suffering of a being that was hung, that was killed, that was death row by hanging, and became a hanging, kind of bashing kind of creature. And then of course there's other ones that have needles coming out of their eyes, and those are people that died from the lethal injection. So everything that makes all of the monsters do make sense in the suffering. The protagonist, of course, is fighting to survive. To get out and survive the night if he can, and if he can't, then you start from your last save state, or checkpoint. So you've got shotguns, flashbangs, flares, guns. You go crazy. There's an insanity meter that makes you turn into a big bulking Hulk of a man, almost as if there was a battle engine within a human, within a person, then that would be what Torque turns into, as if he had. So what I'm trying to say is that the battle engine was in him the whole time. And then, like the classic line from the game is pretty much focused. It's a combat-focused game. It's exploration. You get lots of ammo. You pick up pills that help you to heal and maybe speed you up or slow you down. And maybe that was Max Payne, or maybe it's both in the Suffering and Max Payne. Everybody loves the Suffering. Let's take a look at the gameplay footage. Live gameplay. This is not live gameplay footage. I don't know why I said that. This is just gameplay footage that I got off of a YouTube channel of long plays of the Suffering, and you can see here Torque has finally escaped. He's out and about in the prison. The scale is one of the things that jumps out to me as one of the things that left it in this. Oh, you get pills. So he's got some pills. There's people in boxes. A lot of people are dead, but a lot of people are still trying to make it out, and they're going to work with Torque, and hopefully they'll come together as a community within the prison and put everything aside and fight their way out. And if they don't, then the old classic line. It's sort of like the Dishy Dashy and Casty classic line about surviving together. If we were to split apart, if everybody was to carry, if everyone used one pocket, if everyone used their pockets for the one thing instead of splitting their pockets between the two things, then the rocks and the roots, then the power settings and the save settings. So you do get an idea of how this game really. This is a nitty-gritty look at the Suffering in ways that you probably won't see on other game review channels, because we don't hide anything. This is just how video games work. There's menus that come up. There's and he's kicking, and he chooses whether or not to kick or not. And here's his first friend. So let's go ahead and say hello to our friend there. He's having a tough time. Give him some. One of the things that I always try to tell people is that don't be afraid to be the first person to say hello. Don't be afraid to be the first person to introduce yourself. And if you've forgotten someone's name, then just feel free to ask. So we're looking at the phone. We've got a call coming in. Hello, you're on the air with the Suffering, the EGI2 game review. EGI2. 6 to 7 out of 10. Game review 2. Game review 2. What are your thoughts on the Suffering?
Hello. Hi. Hi. This is Maddie from Ohio.
Maddie from Ohio. How are you doing?
Good. I'm doing great. I'm really enjoying the game. The game coverage. Robbie really.
This is our stock and trade here.
And there's a slider here in OBS, so I can actually, even though I had to accidentally restart the thing. Okay, there we are. So you can see Torque there if you can, Maddie. There's a. He's kind of opening things, and he's looking at stuff, and he's picking up the pills, and there's a picture of a guy. So that's nice. Maddie, what are you thinking?
Well, I played this game, and it really struck me. I mean, you start off as this guy named Torque, which is really silly because, that's like what motorcycles have and not really a name. And so like he's framed for murder for his family, but I'm like looking at this guy, Torque, and I'm like, this guy, he loves his family, and I'm just thinking there has to be something deeper here, right? Me and my friends, we're on the playground talking about Torque and like talking about how like he couldn't have done it, and this is right, in 2004, right when this came out, and we were just reminiscing about Torque and how he probably didn't, and I won't give away any endings, but I just wanted to say that, can I first say something about Battle Engine Aquila, just really
absolutely
quickly.
There's nothing wrong about a game, about reviewing games that you've already there's nothing wrong with you reviewing the games that you want to review instead of the games that I want to review.
I absolutely agree with you, but I will stick with the games that we were talking about tonight, if that's cool, because I just think that you great stuff. So Battle Engine Aquila was really a special game for me and my friend. My friend Greg had it on the Microsoft Windows. He had the port, the PC
the original
port, right?
PC port, before Steam, before any of the storefronts.
For Battle Engine Aquila?
Yes.
I believe it did. Oh, I'm sorry.
One of the big. It came in a big box, is what I'm trying to say.
Right. Yeah. My buddy Greg had that version, and he was saying how much different it was to my PlayStation 2 copy. And I was wondering if you had any idea what those differences would have been. But I really do think that it deserved a 7 out of 10. I think that's a great score for it. A lot of my friends on the playground were trying to create this kind of romance between Hawk and Tatiana.
Tatiana, yes.
I think that the real kind of romance in that game is the man and machine.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. What a wonderful thought, because sometimes the people that matter to us the most aren't people at all. They're actually hulking, death-dealing things.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, I never made it that far into that game, but because I was just a little too shy to go into the air. I mean, I saw the mountains and I didn't want to crash into any of them. But you did think about it, didn't you? You were willing to. Oh, I thought long and hard about it. You have no idea the nights I spent thinking about taking off and really taking advantage of those two combat modes.
Or maybe you're like one of those people that just you're one of those people that just kind of dives down and sees how far you can get down to the ground there before you quickly transform into tank mode, land softly, and just run over a few trees. No harm done.
That sounds freaking bad tech, dude. But I'm just too shy for it.
Too shy for it.
But too shy for it. So The Suffering is a really fun game too. This guy named Torque. I remember there's a couple guys that you save from a cell, and they're buddies. You can tell like they've been spending some time, hard time in the cells together, right? And one of them died, and I remember the other one was quite sad about that. And I remember myself becoming pretty emotional over just seeing these two brothers at this point who had been spending so many years in a cell that you help, and one of them dies, and it has permadeath.
Right.
Right. Like it has like they'll help you fight, but once they're dead, and you can like reload it, and they'll be back there, thankfully. But I think that it was just maybe one of the first games I ever played where I felt like I was gonna miss one of my fellas.
So you're telling me that this game struck you deep. It was a hard time to think that you might not make it out of this thing alive, because it could be, and because in your heart at least it was the last chance that you had to really get through this horror.
That's right. Yeah, and they could have really, every man is an asset, and I say that all the time, like especially in situations like that, you want to make friends with as many people as you can, and then when you're in trouble, they'll help you out.
Maddie, that is absolutely the kind of look. That's the. I'm trying to think of what to say here, because my heart is just what they say about the Grinch, where his heart grew 3 sizes that day.
Mm-hmm.
I feel not that I was at the Grinch's level at all, but I do feel like that really struck a chord with me, and I just want everybody in the chat and out there in EGI2 family to just remember what Maddie said when next time you play a game and you see some of your buddies. Perhaps it's one of the games where you're supposed to kind of be a part of a squadron, and maybe it's not like Band of Brothers or not Band of Brothers, Brothers in Arms, and you know, maybe the game makers didn't really think about how much of an attachment you were going to have to those people besides you.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right.
Think about it. It kind of reminds me of the last couple times I played the original Halo.
Mm-hmm.
And I always try to see how many of those folks I could keep with me for as long as possible.
That's right, and those aliens are really mean. Robbie, I'm gonna get off here so someone else can call in. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. I'll be in chat. I really do think that you are bringing something to us really special here with this game reporting.
Thank you so much, Maddie, and good luck to you and everything that you do. And keep that heart strong, keep your soul clear, and don't be afraid to be a good person. Because we always say, there's always more than enough bad people in the world and never enough good people. So we got another call coming in. Let's see what people are saying about the suffering.
Okay, I love you. Bye.
Love you too. Hello, you're on the air with EGI 2, 6 to 7 out of 10 game reviews to game review 2, The Suffering. What are your thoughts?
I think The Suffering looks really interesting, and I'm glad that you're talking about this on EGI 2 because I don't think I ever would have heard of it before.
You've never heard of The Suffering? Well, believe me, that's... we're just getting a bit of an echo. Do you maybe have your Twitch window open? Or Twitch sound still on?
Yeah, I'm a bit muted now. Yeah, sorry.
So let me tell you something. There's two Suffering games. This is the first Suffering game. The first game takes place in a prison, and the second Suffering game takes place out in Baltimore, Maryland, where I lived for many years.
Mm-hmm.
And so, who are you? Where are you calling from? And beyond learning about the game for the first time, what are your thoughts about what you're seeing tonight?
My name is Wham. I live in Denver, and yeah, I just I think it's cool that you can go around and collect items,
pills and.
Yeah, the execution style villains is kind of a cool concept. Yeah, it's one of those things that just kind of slips through the cracks.
A lot of thing about it is, Pam, Pam from Denver, is that I'll say this, is that a lot of places gave this a 8 out of 10 when it came out. It was kind of I think what we would have called back in those days a sleeper hit. And it was, and warranted its sequel, which of course didn't quite hit as the same way because horror action games had moved on at that point. And there's some pills right there. He should really be getting those pills. I mean, if you're should be stockpiling those things because you never know what kind of wild stuff is going to jump out of the cracks at you when you're playing The Suffering, when you're Abbott State Penitentiary, The Suffering. Denver's a big city. It's a classic town. You got the light rail system there. You have the commuter lines, the commuter rail lines that go right into that beautiful Union Station downtown. Have you ever wonder what it would be like if all of a sudden that thing was overrun by beasts?
No, I haven't. But that's an interesting scenario to think about. It's kind of a tight area inside.
And how many so what I would do is next time you're downtown Denver, whether you're Pam or somewhere else or somebody else that's just visiting, just keep an eye out for those little boxes on the side of the walls that could contain pills.
That's a good point. You don't want to leave valuable resources behind.
And Pam, so are you a big fan of horror games? Are you a big fan of action? What's your general genre, subgenre? Because we do consider gaming itself as its own specific genre. We put that on the shelf. So what we talk about when we talk about horror games, action games, what have you, we're talking about the subgenres.
Right. I guess I like to watch people play horror games instead of playing them. Myself, I generally like kind of more like simulation, city building games, some platforms. I like GTA. I like open world kind of thing. But yeah. Oh.
Nope.
Hello.
Oh, we're back.
There you go.
We didn't go anywhere. Did you go? Pam, are you still with us?
I am. Can you hear me?
So looking at the suffering here on the, I believe this. Did we determine if it was the PlayStation 2? Oh, there's a nasty thing happening right now. Oh, the guy's trapped in the gas chamber. Torque's trying to get him out. Oh boy. Never a good, never. You know, and what happens if you try, if this was one of those situations where you could even save the guy, and you open the door just in time for the guy to be expired.
Yeah, you know, I gotta be honest with you. I'm casting it to my Chromecast, so there's a delay.
Oh, sorry. Well, sorry to spoil it for you. And there's one of those freaky guys that's always just jumping up and down, and it's got like a kind of a rack on him. No good.
Right.
Not if I saw one of those guys coming down the street, coming at me, looking at me, giving me the side eye, I'd probably see if I could duck down down an alleyway or maybe jump into a storefront somewhere.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Maybe hide in a dumpster.
Dumpster. A lot of times you find that's where you find the pills too.
That's true. That's true. That's a good point. Maybe some food too.
What are your thoughts on what do you feel like? Where do you feel like this game lands on that 7 out of 10 or 6 to 7 out of 10 scale?
You know, I mean, it seems like a 7 to me. What I like about these reviews is that, you know, you're kind of shining a light on the more like middle of the pack kind of games, you know, that are perfectly fine. You know, not everything has to be a perfect masterpiece.
Not every game, not every game has to be Baldur's Gate 3 or Tears of the Kingdom. You know, sometimes there's just fun stuff that's got a good concept. It's got a lot of heart, and you got to shine a light on it.
Exactly. The heart. I think that's really what's key.
And when you look at the suffering, you do see just a ton of heart.
Yeah. It's true.
Well, thank you for your call, Pat. We're gonna, Pam, we're gonna let you go. See if I think we had somebody else on the line, so we'll see if we can get on with them. And have a wonderful evening. Stay warm. Is it extra cold in Denver these days?
No, it's actually in the low 50s today.
Oh, great. Thanks. Bye. Caller, you're on the air. Caller, you're on the air with EGI 2, 6 to 7 out of 10 game reviews 2, game review 2, The Suffering. What are your thoughts?
Hey, it's Catherine from Philly.
Catherine from Philly, lovely to hear from you. How is the city, the Windy City, these days?
Oh, Robbie, it's windy, dude.
Because it's because of the weather.
The weather, it's cold. It's very cold. My landlord is semi-negligent, so we've been waking up into like a 40-degree room every day, and then we go into the living room and it's about 50 degrees.
Well,
so
you got one of those gas heaters by the window in your house?
No, we don't have any kind of gas stuff. It's electric and it's kind of busted. We have our TV and PC set up, right, and that's in our living room. And this is your
Louise.
Right now. Hope
Catherine,
everybody's okay with this. Yeah, what are you?
Wild stuff on the screen right now. You might be. You got a little bit of delay if you're watching the stream right now, but you'll see in a moment.
Yeah, we got Wolverine.
Holy crow!
We got,
look at this fella.
This guy's in the computer.
No good. Well, that guy's probably going to come back in some form or other and give you a what for.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
So, Catherine,
anyway, yeah. So the heater's behind the computer, so we can't turn it on. And it doesn't work anyway. It's coming off the wall. Anyway, whatever. The Suffering. It's like a 6 or 7.
Absolutely.
Did you play it?
I played it.
I
played it, and I played it when it came out. I played the second one when it came out because when those two games, the first game came out, I was living between Tallahassee and Baltimore, and the second game I was in Baltimore, so I did play the second game looking at all the sites and wondering, if you're in Philadelphia, then you've got a lot of that same mid-Atlantic architecture, those the row houses and what have you.
Absolutely.
So you know what I'm talking about.
There's a stressful industrialism to, I think, all of those spaces. Yeah, Baltimore has that for sure.
Especially if you're looking at the sort of in Philly, you got the West Philly, Fishtown area, north of Chinatown.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of row houses. A lot of that. That's a classic look. It's a classic. That's what we used. That's the cities that we used to live in before we bulldozed everything and put these highways down them. But I won't get on my high horse about the war against cars or anything like that.
Oh,
but
we could talk about highways, yeah.
But when I played The Suffering 2, The Suffering Ties That Bind, I actually think that game looks more like Philadelphia than it does Baltimore. And so if you're looking for a game that maybe reflects your current living situation in terms of where you live, as in the broader sense of the town, then I would check it out. Why not?
You know, I've heard better things about The Suffering 2, The Ties That Bind, than what I've heard about The Suffering 1. No subtitle. I guess there's no subtitle on that. But I've heard better things. I'll probably check it out in light of that. You know, there's a lot of classic Philadelphia media like that. I feel like Eraserhead also fills that gap a little bit. You know, whatever. Again, you know, just this industrial kind of this look. What would you have given it? I'm turning it on you now. What would you have given this game when you played it at the time?
When I played it at the time? 7.
How did you feel about it?
I would say it was 7.5 out of 10, but this is not that. But this is not that time.
Wow.
This is a different. This is different time. So this is going to get a different score than I would have given it. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and also that we're able to look back at the epoch that was the 2002 to 2011 epoch, and say, you know, what's really sticking with us, what isn't. But I do think that it's still, even still, it does fall into that. It has to fall into that 6 or 7 out of 10, 6 to 7 out of 10 category here on EGI2 to justify it being on. This
on
show.
The list in general. Absolutely. I mean,
well, it's not the list; it's game reviews.
Oh yeah, right. Can I give you one metric by which I judge? Like, this is how I give one. I give half a point to a game if it has normal maps in it. If it doesn't have normal maps, I feel like that's half a point off for me.
Normal.
And I don't think this game has normal maps.
I don't think it does either. I think I think that the texture work on this thing was pretty basic. Yeah.
There's just some kind of some maybe bilinear or trilinear filtering happening.
If
good.
that, I mean, for a place, this is running on PlayStation 2. Yeah, it does look pretty good, and I think the Xbox version still holds up. I think the thing that strikes me is, of course, just the size of the bodies when you look at a door.
Oh, sure.
I mean, that's just a big. That's a big door.
Not right.
It's not right.
Yeah.
And I think if you ever go and play The Suffering Ties That Bind, I think that you'll find that it's quite. It's almost flipped. The models are almost too big.
I think the floor is not. If I'm looking at the screen right now, because I've just kind of come back in, because I want to make sure that the audio doesn't get messed up. But I think there's no floor.
Well,
there's
a floor. No, I think it's one of those games that has you could switch between first person and third person, and there's not quite a good like if they had just focused on one perspective, they probably could have made everything a little bit more tactile.
Sure.
And unfortunately, it just feels sort of floaty and unmoored.
Yeah, you know, I kind of liked that first-person mode. I feel like that kind of looks better than the third-person mode, to be completely honest. I like the hand holding a knife backwards type of right hand holding the knife backwards type of thing. I don't know if you identify with that at all, but
I mean, I think when I first played The Suffering, I played it primarily in first-person mode whenever I could.
Nice.
Well,
that makes sense to me.
Catherine, thank you so much for your call. We're having a great night here. We do have to give this game a review at some point very soon, so I'm going to let you go and check in on chat. Chat, what are your thoughts about Catherine's thoughts about the normal mapping situation in the Suffering, the first Suffering? I think is it The Suffering Prison is Hell, or is that just the tagline? Robbie, can someone else describe the vibe difference between the Rust Belt and the Sun? Well, I can tell you right now that humidity could be. It's. Okay, so I would say the big difference in. Are you talking about gaming-wise, or are we talking about just generalities? Well, epoch. Give me a second. I gotta think. The difference between the Sun Belt and the Rust Belt, vibe-wise, I think the Rust Belt much more of a party vibe than the Sun Belt. Anyway, Suffering Ties It Bind gets an official EGI 2 6 to 7 out of 10 game reviews score. Game reviews 2 score of 7.5 out of 10. And I did say earlier that I did believe that back then I would have given it a 7.5 out of 10 with no question. But with looking back at the epoch, I'm gonna say that's not a certainty, that's a question, and so the score is gonna have to vacillate somewhere in those tenths of points situation, just above 7. So both higher than 7, a little bit higher than 7. I think that's a worthy place for it. And it's absolutely still a phenomenally fun game to play, despite all the issues that we have with the texture work being a little drab and a little uninteresting, and the floaty, the occasional feeling that the character doesn't really seem to be attached to the floor anywhere. So thank you for Stoic as me says looks like a mid 7. I stand by my vacillating between 7.1 and 7.5. I think that's the right place for me. But if you're somewhere else, then we want to hear from you. Please call EGI 2 6 to 7 out of 10 game reviews. 6 to 7 out of 10 game reviews 2. Game review 2 Suffering has been scored, and that score was 1.5 out of 10. So congratulations, from us and from our sponsors, Frame Gride, the classic mech arena action game from Software mini gaming desktops, and Bitmap Books. If you're looking for a great book to have on your bookshelf, it's Bitmap Books. They're a little expensive, and you might not want to unwrap them. But if they were ever to give us some free books, I would unwrap them on the stream, and we would. That's how the sponsorship could work. It could work, and there's many other ways that the sponsorship could work here on EGI 2. But that's just what we've been looking for. It's time for our final game review of the evening, but before we get to the final game review, I do need to take a little bit of a water break, so stay with us. We will be right back. Caller, you're on the air with EGI 2. Why don't you just keep everybody entertained while I go and drink some water? Caller, you're on the air with EGI 2. Why don't you just keep everybody entertained while I go and get some water?
Okay. Hi everyone. Hi the chat. I can't see you right now, but I feel your presence. I'm sure you're saying some stuff, but I have my Twitch in a little view on my phone. Okay, now I see it. How's everyone doing? I think Robbie drinks non-flavored water. That's my guess. My day's been pretty good. Working from home, kind of stuck inside. There's freezing rain outside, and so no one can go out their doors without slipping and falling. It's kind of a tragic time, but, you know, we make the best of it. Oh, my name's Sandwich from Oregon. I would rate this game about a mid-7. I haven't played it myself, but it looks like I could play it and not hate it, which is good. You know, I think that Robbie should be allowed to go over the 7 out of 10 limit if he defines 5 or 6 to 7 out of 10 to be the ranges of 6 and 7, you know? I think as long as he makes those rules and sticks to them, it should be perfectly fine. You know, but if he set the rules by not going above 7, then by all means, I think we should call him out on it. You know, that's a good point. Someone said that this isn't the list, so the rules are flexible. I agree. This is not the list. This is just a review. I shouldn't say just a review. All reviews should be thought
And we're
of.
back. So, Caller, you're on the air with EGI 2, 6 to 7 out of 10 game reviews 2. Your thoughts are what are your thoughts of what you've been seeing so far this evening? Did you see the pills?
I did see the pills.
So that was exciting. We all saw it. We all got to see the guy open the door. Torque got to open the door, see the pills, flashlight batteries. Of course, this is a game that does use flashlight batteries. Not the kind of global illumination that we would come to love in such games as Chronicles of Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay, or Doom 3, but still, pretty impressive. You shine a light on something, it gets a little bit brighter. What could possibly be wrong with that? And here we see another guy just absolutely going completely bananas and disappearing into the mid-Atlantic evening on Abbott Island, Abbott Penitentiary. Caller, who are you and where are you calling from?
I'm Sandwich from Oregon.
Sandwich from Oregon. How's the weather up there? It seems like it's just a rat bastard of a weather situation you got cooking up.
Yeah, I already told the chat, but there's freezing rain, and no one can go outside without slipping.
Oh, that's no good.
Yeah, so it's not fun, but, making the best of the situation. Watching EGI 2, eating my reserve soup, because we can't go outside to go to the grocery store, but, that's fine. Just make the best of the situation.
And it's a classic American city. The trains aren't running though because of this freezing rain. I saw it in the newspaper today. So we're all just hoping to the great man Jesus that you're gonna have a easier time tomorrow than you did today, and hopefully that this next game will speak to you, because this next game is a game that I think a lot of people completely forgot even existed, and that is of course Cursed Mountain on the Nintendo Wii.
This summer, you will go on a mission deep into the Antarctic, where a terrible threat awaits. Fear and danger wait at every turn. A mission that you may not survive. This is extermination. From Tokuro Fujiwara and his team at Deep Space, extermination will take you places you've never been before.
Extermination takes place at an underground research facility at the South Pole. Because of the extremely low temperatures, they're able to conduct experiments on dangerous islands. Suddenly, a distress signal is sent from space, and all communications
When Dennis Riley and his partners in the Marine Special Forces Red Light Team are working and they are bent on infecting the members of Red Light with their deadly virus.
So if you're a big fan of being cold, being outside, then you're a big fan of Cursed Mountain on the Nintendo Wii. Sandwich, what are your thoughts on Cursed Mountain, and what do you remember this game even coming out? Do you remember the sort of the story behind it?
I don't remember this game at all. Was this like towards the launch of the Wii or towards the end of the Wii?
Somewhere in the middle. You play as a mountain explorer named Eric Simmons, who goes up into the mountains with his flashlight and the Wii remote, and solves puzzles, escapes beasts, and of course points the remote at the screen.
That sounds.
And here we have it, of course. So this is, of course, an example of Eric just running around, having a great time, just being himself out there on his path of discovery. Because when it starts out, it's not. He's not a nice person.
So there's some character progression in this game. Is that kind of what
I would say
about?
it's sort of a dramatic arc, if you will, and the game was, of course, very similar in sort of vibe and scale to something like if you cross, say, The Suffering with, if you made it out, if you put it in the mountains.
So if The Suffering were like just expanded. Oh, jeez.
Yes.
Water.
So if you don't believe in, the story goes that if you don't believe in something and you find yourself surrounded by the mythos of another culture, and all of a sudden strange things start happening, the best advice that I can give you is to be open-minded. Sandwich, what do you think of that?
I could be open-minded. I could maybe try this game out.
Well, thank you for your call, Sandwich. It's been wonderful hearing from you. Stay safe in that cold Portland storm. It's a classic town. The trains aren't running, but hopefully they will be tomorrow, and you can get around safely. Or if you don't take the train, you can drive without worrying that your car will fly into the train.
Oh yeah. Thank you, and thank you for the stream.
Thank you, and have a wonderful evening, and thank you for keeping everyone entertained while I was getting a glass of water.
No worries. Bye.
Bye. So that was Sandwich, and Sandwich was is obviously a fantastic person, a great person, the kind of person that makes you say, I hope that you never fall into the situation that Eric Simmons finds himself in the world of these dark houses with the torches, and being able to run around in a new place is always a lot of fun, but it's not so much fun when it's nighttime and you can't see where you're going. So that's why you have the Wii remote to point the flashlight at the thing that you're looking at and discover diary pages. So let's open the phone calls again and see what people are saying about people are saying about Cursed Mountain on the Nintendo Wii. This, of course, comes to us from the good people at Deep Silver. Deep Silver. Caller, you're on the air with Caller, you're on the air with EGI 2 Game Reviews 2 Game Review 3 Cursed Mountain.
Hi, so I'm just giving my review of Cursed Mountain.
Right, so we're reviewing Cursed Mountain right now. We've gotten through the first two reviews with Battle Engine Aquila and The Suffering.
Oh, nice. Okay, well, I'm gonna give Cursed Mountain a 6.7, I guess.
6.7 out of 10. So you're standing by it this game as being between 6 and 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I haven't actually played the game, but based on the gameplay that I'm seeing and what people have said about it, I like that it's in like a snowy environment. That's cool. Gonna give it a 6.7.
Okay, so I want to read to you from a bit of a copy and pasted printout that I have here from the GameSpot review of Cursed Mountain, and that goes as follows: the visuals aren't groundbreaking, but they evolve nicely as you ascend Chomolonzo. The areas at the base of the mountain look and sound chilly, but aren't nearly as inhospitably bitter at its peak. Aside from some occasional awkward animation and jitters, Eric looks natural when he slinks across tight ledges and scales cliff sides using the ice axe, and maybe we'll be lucky enough to see some ice axe action going forward here in this game footage. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would love to see that. I would actually love to see an ice axe. That sounds very cool. And I'm just going to assume that everything that the reviewer said was correct, because I have not played the game.
Well, if you haven't played the game, you're still giving it the 6.7 out of 10, which means that you're liking what you're seeing enough to say that I do believe that this deserves some recognition as it's solid enough to be worthy of our time.
Yeah, I mean, from what I'm seeing on the screen, it's very dark. I can't really tell what's going on. It looks a little spooky. That's the kind of game I like to play.
Oh, you get incense sticks. I didn't see that earlier.
Oh, see, that sounds good too. Oh yeah, incense sticks. You never know when you might need those.
Well, you never. In Suffering, you get flashlight batteries, pills, and in Curse Mountain, you get incense sticks.
Yeah, and I do think that if this game had pills too, then I probably would have bumped that score up just a little bit. But I haven't seen any yet, so.
I mean, what kind of a bump are we talking about?
Maybe up to like a 6.9, not all the way up to a 7, but I think I would give like a couple extra decimal points there.
So this is I wanted to review. This is another part of the GameSpot review of Curse Mountain. There are moments when predictability seeps into it. Some of your ethereal enemies mix up attacks on you, but defeating them involves the same tactics time and time again.
Yeah, that doesn't sound great. So I think, I don't know. I think in general, I don't really like when I have to fight things in games. It's my least favorite part of games. I like when I'm just walking around or doing puzzles. So it probably wouldn't bother me that much that you're just doing the same thing over and over again to fight the enemies.
And again, with the puzzles in this game are largely using you kind of sweep the Wii remote around. You're using it to kind of trace markings and that kind of thing. So as Eric said, it's just a Wii game. Yeah,
oh wow.
Yeah, Curse Mountain is on the Nintendo Wii. It comes to us from, I believe, Deep Silver, the people behind the wonderful. Deep Silver, of course, gave us the Dead Island series.
Wow, that's actually very exciting. I have a Wii, so there is like a slight chance that I could play this game at some point. So that's pretty cool, actually.
So if you could imagine that you go to the thrift store one day. Where are you exactly?
I'm in Ithaca.
You're in Ithaca. So, Kat from Ithaca. Gotcha. Kat, welcome back to the show, friend of the show. You're probably also cold. A lot of people are cold tonight.
It is pretty cold here, yeah.
But not as cursed as the Cursed Mountain.
That's true. Not as cursed as the Cursed Mountain.
Kat, you a fan of the Dead Island games?
I have not.
So you're not
also cold?
No, quite the opposite. It's a tropical situation. So in just a matter of years between 2009, I believe it was, when Cursed Mountain, someone could check on that in the chat for me, if it was 2009 was when Cursed Mountain came out. 2009 and whenever Dead Island came out, they went from the coldest damn place they could think of to one of the warmer ones.
Oh, wow. I do think that even though I like colder places better, I think there's something kind of scary about hot places. Because you're like running away from things and you're getting really hot and you can't run fast, and that's kind of scary to me.
Yeah, and there's you could stay. You can imagine that those if you're willing to be running around, and those things are being willing to running in the hot place. And we're not talking about the big one, are we?
No.
Hell.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Right.
So the hot place. So you're saying that there's more to worry about, because I would think in warmer situations, it's the bugs.
Oh yeah, the bugs are terrible. I definitely hate. I mean, that's not to be mean to bugs, but I don't like when it's really hot and there's bugs everywhere. I like when it's really cold.
So you're
and all the bugs are like hiding.
So you think you would, in the situation, if you were to choose between being in the Cursed Mountain situation or the Dead Island situation, you're going Cursed Mountain all the way, it sounds like.
Yeah, I would absolutely pick the Cursed Mountain. I like mountains. I don't really like when it's super cold, but I feel like I could find a cave somewhere and then I could kind of just hide in there, and that would be my plan to survive.
You got flint?
Hopefully I could find some of that. It's just like a like a gray-looking rock, right? I'm sure I could find some of that.
Just like the kids in that old story that we all remember, the story of Dishy Dashy and Catty. Catsy? Kissy? Catsy. Dishy
I think you
Dashy.
said Dishy Dashy and Casty?
What was it? Catsy?
Yeah.
Cutsy?
Casty.
Dishy Casty? Dishy Dashy and Casty.
I feel like.
So they've got they had
right.
rocks and they had one pocket for rocks and one pocket for roots.
Yeah, and just like Dishy Dashy and Casty, I would also have multiple pockets, and I'd hopefully have flint and maybe like some incense sticks and possibly even pills in those pockets, and I think that would really help me.
Well, I think that if we'd been able to go further into the if the hype train had kept going, we probably would have talked more about how many pockets there were.
Oh, that sounds
I
great.
mean, by the end there were
really
different.
By
the end there could have been multiple pockets.
That's amazing. I love lots of pockets. So hopefully that hype train gets started.
So
again.
story time is working for you, Kat?
I really enjoyed story time. I especially loved the story from last stream about the house. But this story's good too. Big fan.
Thank you for calling, and Kat, stay warm. It's been crazy. It's crazy weather. I mean, it's winter, so it's not that crazy, but it's still wild enough.
Yeah, it has been pretty bad weather.
Now, what a stinking way to begin such a rat bastard of a year.
That's true, but hopefully it gets better.
It gets better, but it's not getting any better for Eric Simmons. He's stuck on the Cursed Mountain, so don't get up and... I would say, Kat, if you ever find yourself with a choice of whether or not to go up the Cursed Mountain or not, stay down, because it's a whole other life up there.
I will definitely keep that in mind. I'll try to avoid Cursed Mountain. Thank you.
The Cursed Mountain. It has a name.
The Cursed Mountain.
Chomalonzo.
Oh, I'll stay away from there for sure.
Thank you for your call, Kat, and we are going to be checking out on the chat and seeing what people are saying about Cursed Mountain in the chat. What are you guys thinking? What are you guys in terms of score for this thing? Oh, we got another. But before we do that, we do have another call. We got another. Something happened in the chat, and then I got a call. But I'm gonna take the call, and then we'll see what happens. I'm not I haven't quite figured out how to split the mind, because when you're taking calls and you have the chat, there's a lot of visual stuff going on that you have to pay attention to. But then there's also the sound stuff that's going on, and then you have to move between the two sets of buttons. Caller.
It's difficult to determine where to put when your attention is so divided when it seems to sort of be bouncing all around and you never know what to do with it.
And that's kind of that's why Cursed Mountain speaks to me, I think, because here's a guy finds himself on the Cursed Mountain, Chomalonzo, and he's just thinking, here I am, just a mountain climber, trying to get my height. These guys are junkies for elevations.
This man, Rick, seems to be a man of great focus and very clear ambition.
Eric Simmons, he is.
But you could imagine a close friend, or even traveling companion. Maybe if they do a sequel, they could put this in. You could imagine like a close friend calling him Rick or Ricky.
Eric, you call Eric? Is Eric or Rick?
Do they ever?
It's sort of like. Well, it's sort of like how sometimes people call Henry Hugh. Sometimes isn't that a thing? Am I remembering that correctly?
I don't know. I don't know if
or
I've
Hank,
never heard
Hank,
that one
not
before.
Hugh,
Maybe...
Hank. People call Henry Hank. People call John Jack. I guess Eric could be Rick. It's not that big of a difference.
Yeah. I mean, you submit that to the committee they'd have a hard time saying that it's too out there.
Oh, committee.
To push through for approval.
Oh, brother. All these committees. God above.
I know it boggles the number of committees. The symposiums are never ending, it seems, in this day and age. I bet they've got some real big war committees for what the Snackerdoodles was it called? It was the first game with the Aquila.
Aquila, Battle Engine Aquila, the
Battle Engine Aquila.
You got playing as Hawk, not Hank, Hawk.
Hawk. Yep, but maybe that game. I would rather live in that game than the other two, because it wouldn't be me out there going wild in the battle suit. I would leave that to the professionals. But I do wonder.
But
you wonder what's under that water.
You wonder. You're telling me that if you found yourself on the planet, if you found yourself in some sort of Forsetti stronghold in Battle Engine Aquila,
I would try and get under that
You'd try
water.
to get. You'd be like, everybody's running around with their tanks and they're firing the guns in the air and they're pounding the ground with these battle engines. I'm gonna take what I can do. I'm gonna take myself, my friends, and the folks that I work with, and the folks that know what they're doing. And somebody was talking about copper wire earlier in the show, and if you got a sense that maybe that you could get some of that plastic covered copper wire, stick it in the water, maybe you could turn it, you could clip it to a electrical thing machine, and then use the electricity to clean the water. And then the water wouldn't be so scary anymore, and people would want to go underwater more. And maybe people, if they could get off some steam and splash about, swim underneath, maybe they would. Maybe they would.
And then once you've used the raw end of the wire to clean that water out, hopefully not damaging the ocean life that survived too much, you get down there, you've got the insulation around the wire. That's waterproof wire right there, and you can use it to channel power between possibly utopian dome-shaped houses on the ocean floor, and you've got a whole new. I mean, put that in your pocket.
But first thing you want to do is sterilize that stuff, and I'm talking about, when I say the stuff, I mean the water.
Yeah, you could do. I don't know. Maybe this water isn't so bad. Maybe everyone's making a big fuss over nothing, and they just want to blast each other.
And you could drink I think that if you shock something with electricity, it's the same as boiling it, right?
I wouldn't go on camera as having said that, but it sounds authentic enough to me.
So, what are your thoughts on Cursed Mountain here? What are you seeing here that you like? What are you seeing here that makes you kind of stand up? Maybe stand up, walk out the room, walk outside, look up at the sky, talk to the Almighty. If that's your bag. And you don't have to believe in the Almighty to talk to the sky. That's what I've learned.
Oh no, certainly, sure. I guess what's giving me pause for thought is that with all this incense and these statues of the Buddha and these specters that are coming after him, it makes you wonder what he has done to deserve this kind of treatment, because it's just him up there.
Well, from what I understand, he's kind of a rat bastard at the onset. He's one of these elevation junkies. He's just all about getting up on the mountain, seeing how high you can go, take your selfie, get back down. Doesn't really consider the cultural import of such a massive thing as the Cursed Mountain itself.
Oh, is it what makes him a rat bastard is that he's climbing these mountains without really thinking about it?
He was a forklift driver. No, he's not a forklift driver. That's the other feller. Hold on. He's not the Cyber's guy.
He drove a forklift over his family, and he's on the run from the bad guys that are trying to put him in prison. They're trying to put him into the suffering, and he's running up that mountain to get away. He's saying, "I want to get away from the suffering as fast as possible."
Exactly. So he could have been. You're saying that he could have been somewheres in the previous game. Maybe he's one of the guys that gets out at the end. So maybe Torque isn't the last one standing at the end of that game. And if somebody in the chat can tell us if there are other survivors into suffering, then I'd love to know it. But yeah, so it does sound like, it does read like here is just a kind of a rat bastard of a mountain climber. But he is looking for somebody. So he's looking for his brother Frank, who we don't know if Frank's a rat, if Frank falls into that same category of rat bastard or not.
Well, Robbie, this has been a wonderful call. Thank you very much for talking to me. I'm a big friend of the show, and I say we better keep it short and sweet. I better head out.
Thanks you for your call, and we didn't even get your name and where you're calling from.
This is once again calling in Jan Redmond from upstate New York.
Oh, yeah, thank you for your call. Caller, you're on the air with EGI_2. What are your thoughts on Cursed Mountain, and if this guy Eric is even worth rescuing from the Cursed Mountain?
Robbie, this is Slusho from Vancouver.
Sasha from Vancouver, lovely to hear from you.
About these diary entries in Cursed Mountain.
Okay, let's hear it.
We've got Hawk, we've got Torque. Those two guys are very action-oriented. They've got knives and guns. Eric here has got incense and diaries, and I'm not getting enough footage of those diary entries.
Well, I'm letting the game play out because we don't want to hide anything, because this is what it's like to play the damn thing. So if he sees a diary, if he reads the thing, if he reads it and we see it, then we can talk about it. Okay, so there's some words that just popped up on the screen. You got a bit of a delay, you'll see it. So somebody got drugs, so he's got the pills up there. He's also probably got altitude sickness. I think there's an altitude sickness element to some of this stuff. I mean, Eric doesn't strike me as one of the most agreeable people that we've followed on this evening's. He certainly doesn't have the kind of immediate arc of the kind of excitement that comes when you're driving a forklift one day, and then later in the day you're piloting a battle engine Aquila, and he's certainly not the kind of complicated person that Torque from The Suffering is, because a guy on death row has got nothing to lose. So
Robbie, you are so right.
Eric's looking for his brother, but that doesn't mean he can't take a second to appreciate the cultural enrichment that he's uncovering.
And I mean, it really brings up the question, right? If Eric is a mountaineer, this is supposedly his calling, wouldn't he have learned some basic, reverence for the mountains that he climbs? Now he's on Chamalonzo, making a mess of things.
And he's got his little pickaxe out, and he's just cracking the rocks open. He's poking little holes in it, and we talked about holes earlier in the show, of course, with the little holes and the people that live in the rocks with the little holes that they use like windows. But it's like you're not gonna. There's maybe that high up in the air, smaller critters like those probably can't survive.
And, I guess my question as someone who's looking for more information on this game, because obviously the remotes and the Wii functionality makes total sense for a game of this kind, is why aren't there more animal companions if he's on this mountain?
That's a great question, and I often wonder myself, where are? I'll tell you a story about and you might appreciate this being so close to the wilderness up there in Vancouver. When I was a boy, I lived very close to a very large swamp, and the way that I found dogs was by going into the swamp on a Saturday morning, wandering around until a dog found me, desperate animal, probably been terrified to death of all. I mean, there's someone was talking about the hot climates earlier. Holy crow! Can you imagine the size of these bugs and that's just the insects. There's the spiders and the alligators and the snakes. So these dogs would just pop on out, take one look at me. He looks friendly, and then come along besides, and that's how you start a gang. And so it's wondering, but the difference between me and I'm saying Eric Simmons, and this is the mountain climber from the Cursed Mountain, is that I had the wherewithal to open my heart up to these animals, and maybe that the creatures of the Cursed Mountain, the ones that are probably just scared to death of all these ghosts and wackos, they're just taking a look at Eric and saying, yeah, I'm just gonna stay put, because this guy could be one of those kickers, one of those people that just like kicks me.
Must be
somewhere. Might as well just stay in my little yurt that I built for myself, because some animals, after they've been alone for a long time, start to apply human-like ingenuity to their lives.
That's a very touching story that makes total sense. I just wanted to make sure that we all acknowledge that Eric might be a rat bastard, but at least he's out there reading. He's got some literature with him. I do appreciate that.
Well, I think the story of the Cursed Mountain that he's experiencing is one that will take him from being a closed-minded individual to one that is a lot more open to the breadth of experience that life has to offer.
Well, I can't wait to hear more. I can't wait to hear your score. Robbie, thanks for the work you do. Signing off from Vancouver, this is Flasho.
Flasho, thank you so much, and we will be taking a couple more calls this evening before we hand out the score. So please call in when you can. I'm calling this glass of water, and I'm calling it my friend for giving me the sips. Caller, you're on the air with EGI _2, 6 to 7 out of 10 game reviews to game review 3, The Cursed Mountain. What are your thoughts?
Hi, Robbie. This is Joe Botnick. I'm really enjoying the review of The Cursed Mountain so far. It's a very dark game. It's dark. It's not. The Suffering was more thematically dark, I feel, but it was more of a bright environment.
It's almost as if the video was deliberately just the contrast was either turned way up or the brightness was turned way down, or both.
Yeah, and like I'm enjoying. I don't know if we've talked about the controls yet. The character seems to be doing some kind of magic spell casting with the Wii motion controls, which I really appreciate.
Absolutely. So what are your thoughts on that?
I like it. I think
beyond appreciation.
I kind of miss motion controls. Like it used to be a thing, and now everyone's talking about VR and kind of waving your arms around has kind of become a lost art. So it's nice to look back at a time when it was more popular and more accepted in society.
And we don't have those IR receivers, the infrared stuff that the Wii used was not new technology. It was the old stuff, right? Now we've got these like fantastically sensitive Wii remotes and controllers and haptics and all those kinds of things. But in some ways, I mean, I went back and I played, what was it? House of the Dead using the Joy-Con. And I found it to be just such a less enjoyable experience than the. Did everybody else's? Is the screen turning brown?
No, it looks fine.
Just give it a second. Let me know if the screen is turning brown.
It's going. Now you mention it, it's going a bit brown. I'm not sure what's going on.
Okay, so let's see if we can't figure out what the hell is going on. I just feel like.
Yeah, but I was just about to say, maybe the curse is spreading.
Well, there we go.
I think I saw Mossy Lump talking earlier in the chat about the Cursed Mountain, and you went up on the. I don't know if it was a mountain. One of the earlier streams, you were up on a hill or some kind of.
I went up into I went up into the into the Griffith Park, the mountains, the Santa Monica Mountains in Griffith Park, and I reviewed games up there for a couple of hours, and it was it was an experiment in what made trying out different things to see what we wanted to do. I realized deep into that whole experience that I didn't want to be reviewing games up on the mountain because I couldn't see. Well, there's critters up there, and I don't, and some of them are bigger than I'd like them to be, and so I decided if I'm going to review video games, I'm going to review video games from my house.
I approve of that choice, but I was wondering if maybe you never left the mountain. Maybe
you're saying the mountain stuck.
Your cursed mountain.
You're saying the mountain stuck in me.
Yeah, like it's a curse of the soul. It's a mountain of the soul.
All right. Well,
and
what do you have you found yourself in that situation there, Joe?
I mean, I think we all carry a curse unto ourselves,
right?
From the experiences we've had and what we faced in our lives, and probably nothing as literal as Eric Simmons. But honestly, I don't actually know what's going on in the story of this game. I don't know if what he's experiencing is literal or if it's some kind of penance for him being a rat bastard.
Well,
maybe I'm not one to speak on it.
Think about the incense sticks that he's carrying with him taking him along this journey here, and you wonder to yourself, maybe when in life we have perhaps a few paths in front of us, that incense sticks, pills, or flashlight batteries.
That's very true.
And if you find yourself in a situation where you got too many incense sticks that you got on the mountain, then maybe it's time to go down to the prison and get some flashlight batteries or pills.
And then maybe it's time to hop in a battle
engine and just turn it jet mode and
station.
just knock yourself out.
And it's a journey. It's the choices you take, it's the moves you make, and you just go through the motions. And
I'll give you a thought that I had the other day. Life is long, you know. If you think about 10, 15 years ago, holy moly, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, 15 years is a long time. When you think about, think about the kind of games that were coming out around then. It was like a different world.
Yeah, like Cursed Mountain.
Like Cursed Mountain. Like, you wouldn't see this kind of game again these days. It's like just a different time. People were on a different wavelength. I feel it's just you couldn't see that these days.
You might kind of see it. You might kind of see it in the form of one of these like Until Dawn or what's the other one there? Beyond Two Souls. I feel like there's not a lot of I mean, I could say something. We got a raider from the Words show.
Thank you for the raid. The Words show.
Yuck dum boom boom. Yuck dum boom boom. Yuck dum. Thank you for your raid. Lovely to have new people here to talk about the Cursed Mountain on the Nintendo Wii and whether or not we're doing enough as people to open ourselves up to the variety, I would say it's a bouquet, Joe. It's a bit of a bouquet, this life. And a lot of the flowers are just rat stinking, just rotten things. But some of them are nice. And sometimes you can't appreciate the nice ones without all the ones that just completely stink.
You never know what you're gonna get. Some could be rat bastard flowers, but you just won't know until you get it. You need to put yourself out there and buy the bouquet or let yourself be gifted a bouquet.
And who's giving out the gifts?
That's the question.
Hey, the Word Show wants to know how everyone's doing tonight. So that this could be the thing where this could be the opportunity that you have to really tell someone how you feel, how you're feeling. Be open, be honest. Don't be one of these suckers that thinks they can bottle everything up and be safe, because you can't. Safe rooms run. It's what was I gonna say, Joe?
Well, maybe bottling things up isn't good because you could find yourself in a Cursed Mountain situation.
Absolutely, and then if you're kind of a mean son of a gun, then you're gonna not have the luxury. I think it is a luxury when the animals come out and join you on your journey, and maybe help you out while you're just kind of blasting away these I guess they're kind of inky bird spirits.
Raven, crow things, yeah.
So yeah, you gotta think about what effect you're having on other people as you go forward. But don't dwell on it too much. I mean, take care of yourself. It's like the old saying goes about the oxygen masks on the airplane. You got to fix your own masks on your first before you put it on the kids. The kids.
Self-care is important. Yeah.
Self-care is, and I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you for your call, Joe. And we'll hopefully you're up late, but you're up early. I can't remember how it works over there.
I do wake up. Well, I stay up late for this, so I'll be going to bed afterwards. But it's totally worth it. Thank you, Robbie.
Okay.
I really appreciate all you
do. Thank you, Joe. We'll talk to you again soon, I hope. And thank you for your call. So, if you're just joining us, we are deeply into the third game review of EGI 2's 6 to 7 out of 10 game review 2 show, game review 3. We've given the first two game reviews have been game review scores have been given between 6 and 7 out of 10. Somewhere between 7.1 and 7.5 out of 10 for the Suffering, and now, of course, we are still waiting with bated breath to see how the Curse Mountain plans out. But I would like to hear from a few other people who have Curse Mountain thoughts, and if they're on the Curse Mountain, or if they feel like they could one day end up on the Curse Mountain, this is the time to let us know what you're thinking and feeling about how this game review has been going so far. In chat, we've got a bunch. We did have a raid from some place or else, and that was a lot of fun. Now that's over, and everyone's there were a few people that were different, and now it's just now it's the people that were here always, but we're just happy to have everyone here. So there's no issue that I have. But the person that is having an issue is, of course, Eric Simmons on Chum Alonzo. Ideas are solid. Implementation is a lot. IC wins. Predictability. And the final thought of the evening, that it's a shame that control issues so frequently tarnish the Trek, but Curse Mountain mostly transcends its problems. Thanks to a great premise and thoughtful storytelling that will clutch you in its frosty embrace. And that makes me think that, of course, that the story of the Curse Mountain, the story of Eric Simmons in the Curse Mountain, is one of a bit of an arc towards redemption. We don't end up in the mire. We don't end up being one mean sort of person and stay that person the entire time. In fact, we do. As Eric is our avatar, we get to see how his life changes over the course of whipping the Wii remote around and solving puzzles and casting magical spells with what seems to be some kind of a scepter. Thanks always for the subs, Yuck Dum Boom Bum, and everybody else who's been gifting out subs this evening. What a wonderful way to gamify late stage capitalism, and we are, of course, all joking aside, very appreciative of the support as we continue to develop new programs kind of settling in a little bit on like what programs we think we like to do, but we also just will continue to be refining, and I believe the story is that what was the story? The story is that we can't do anything without you, and we can't review Curse Mountain without you, and that Curse Mountain score is, of course, 7 on the Nintendo Wii. So thank you for being patient as we work that out on our own, and we will stay. We will, of course, be returning. EGI 2 Stream 7 will be on Monday, January 22nd at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, at 6 p.m. Standard Time. This is going to be that will be our regularly scheduled numbered stream, and then on Wednesday we will return with EGI 2's 6 to 7 out of 10 game reviews 3, where we will review well, we're gonna wrap this up this evening. Thank you for your time. Thank you to our sponsors, Frame Grind, Written At Books, and Mini Gaming Desktops. This has been a lovely evening so far. I thought I would be able to drink enough water that I would not feel quite as tired, but I have become quite tired, so I am ending the stream. And congratulations to all of our games that were reviewed tonight. 6 to 7 out of 10 is a fantastically agreeable score for games that don't quite make it to the pantheon, but still managed to make an impression. And we will be back next week with more EGI2 streams, and we'll see you guys then. Everybody, good night, and remember to, if you see pills or incense sticks or flashlight batteries, make room for all three of them.